Welcome back to New Home Connection. I'm Christy Durrett, and I'm here with my co-host, Christy Price. Welcome.
Yes.
Glad to have you back.
Well, today is a very special episode because we
Yes.
have Jared Turner back.
Oh, you've been requested back.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
You're
We have
welcome.
summoned you back to the podcast.
Yes.
But I hate to break it to you, Jared. We are even more excited for our truly special guest today.
It's
Yes.
Typical.
I know. I know. And
That's okay.
I don't even want to go through pleasantries. I just want to get to our special guest.
So
Yeah,
let's
we
do
need to
that.
get to it.
Well, it would not be without going through his resume on good old LinkedIn. So, our guest today has been a former sales and channel marketing manager, a director of sales and channel marketing home centers. He has been a director of wholesales. He's been a VP of sales. Well, he's also been a VP of sales again.
Had a lot of selling.
I know.
It's a long resume.
But now, and congratulations, sir, he is Senior VP of Sales of Highland Homes Houston. Let's welcome Mr. John DePasquale.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, wait. First question: is your LinkedIn account updated?
Yes, it says it right here,
It
Senior.
is updated.
Oh,
We are,
Oh.
As
we
of
are up to
November
date.
2023.
Okay, you're hearing it here. He has a
That's
new
fresh
title,
news. New title.
which is the Senior.
Vice
Senior
President of
VP.
Sales for South Texas.
Congratulations.
Thank
Big
And this just
congratulations.
happened.
Just happened a couple weeks ago, but effective immediately. So we're in.
It's
Some
real.
of my meetings took a little bit longer today.
Got it.
So I have to ask,
Yep.
did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did.
DePasquale?
Exactly as spelled.
Oh.
DePasquale.
Well, I think I told
Easy.
you the first time I met you, my second grade teacher's last name was DePasquale.
But
Which
we
is-
discovered it was no relation.
Which is so odd because
Maybe
it's
somewhere
Somewhere down the line.
You never know.
But you never know.
well,
The day Pasquale's, you just never know.
You never know with us.
she was not nice, so I don't think she was related to
Oh.
you.
Well, we won't explore that any further in
No.
case they do come across at a family reunion
Yeah, I
or
don't want it to
something.
be weird.
No, we
Don't want
won't
it to
make
be
that
weird.
awkward for you.
So,
Well, before I go even deeper into your amazing resume, tell us a little bit about John. What
Yes.
does John like to do?
what does John like to do? Married, just hit 21 years with my wife in November. And so, and then we've got one 13-year-old girl, Kennedy. And so I'd say outside of working, any opportunities I could be outdoors, it's spending time, running around, doing a little volleyball gig with my daughter. So we're full
Very nice.
year-round volleyball. And so we're pursuing that. So
Does she have the height?
she has the height. She wants to be taller. So there's a lot of praying for tall. And I try to tell her, I was like, look, I made that same mistake. Like I was like, I want to be big. You gotta be careful what you pray for.
How tall are you, John?
I'm 6'5". So no, she's 5'8", 5'9", 5'9" right now. She wants to be
Oh,
6
wow.
foot
Oh
She's
my
5'9" at
goodness.
13?
at 13. Yeah.
And
How
she
tall
wants
is
to be
she?
taller?
So
She wants to be taller. So she plays middle, so you need a little bit
yeah,
more there.
you got
so,
yeah.
Wow.
And then she's got my feet, which is a problem. She's size 12, women's shoe.
Oh
as a
my
13-year-old,
goodness.
So.
What?
She needs to quit praying.
Yeah, that's what
I feel like the
you
Lord
don't want
has
to tell you don't want
delivered.
to tell your kid like, hey, maybe don't pray. You know?
Yeah, the Lord has delivered.
Yes. So,
Okay.
so that's my day
That's
to
really
day. Just kind of
cool.
running around, little volleyball practices and tournaments on the weekends. And if I'm not doing that, I'm usually outdoors doing something. So just,
What do you like to do outdoors?
Just be out of the house, but just hunting, fishing, just whatever I can kind of get out and do. So try to just change that up. It's usually kind of something a little bit different every weekend, but try to just get out of the house a little bit.
So you say hunting and fishing. So are you a Texas native?
I am. Yep. Grew up in Houston.
Okay.
Grew up in
Oh,
Houston, yeah.
what part?
So kind of grew up in the Galleria area, then moved out to Sugar Land.
Okay.
Went to Strake Jesuit for high school, and then left here and went to Texas Tech. And then after Tech, left Texas, I guess for about 16 years. Was on the
wow.
East Coast, floating around Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It was
in the
fun. No, it was
Carolinas,
awesome.
though.
Great experience.
But then got back as fast as you could.
Yes.
If
then
you
you're
ever leave, if you're from Texas, you leave Texas, you compare everything to Texas,
Yes.
and then you just try to work your way back to
Yes.
said motherland.
I like it. Yes.
The great state.
The
Yes,
great country
yes,
of Texas.
Yes, so,
Yes,
the great country
exactly.
of Texas.
Yes.
So I made it back.
So, what brought you to the East Coast? Was it one of these?
Yeah, so right out of college, got a job with Newell Rubbermaid. I spent about 6 months in Dallas, and then quickly was moved to Miami, and called on Home Depot accounts. So they had a sales program coming out of college where they would hire 200, 300 college kids a year and just throw them into these big box retailers, so Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart's, and they would just kind of overwhelm the store with like these college salespeople that would just, and at the time you could actually sell into individual doors, right?
Really?
So yeah, you had an influence on the selling. It was decentralized from a buying office perspective. So if I was selling saw blades, or I was responsible for saw blades, I'd run demos on saw blades, and I would build extra merchandising units to put more saw blades, but I needed more. So then they'd go, okay, I'll bump up an order for you. And they'd bring more saw blades into the store.
You're like the lady at Sam's with the little
Like
food.
that with free samples.
little-
Basically,
Jared,
yeah,
no.
some of them are different.
Seriously.
He's just handing
No,
out
but
saw
that
blades.
was the whole model. So if you had someone that could influence, so let's say there's 2,000 Home Depots and 2,000 Lowe's and 2,000 Walmarts, and you had an individual influencing every one of those stores where they're bumping up orders a little bit more. And if you have the stock and you're in stock and you're merchandised, you're probably selling more.
Right.
And so it's a grassroots kind of marketing campaign to just kind of get awareness of the product. You're running demos on the weekend. So they just had this, like, it was basically an army of college kids, and they were just tasked with go drive events, drive sell out, find ways to sell in,
Really?
and manage it at the ground level. And then over the years, Home Depot won all the accounts. They used to let you build your display. So we'd be in the back, like, marking down lumber and building our own
Oh.
displays. Those all became prefabricated, and then they centralized the buying office, and they go, hey, y'all need to, they kind of cut all that out. So then it kind of went to a more macro level, high level sell-in.
OSHA had a problem with you building.
OSHA.
Oh, no doubt. There was, I think the first one.
College kids in the back.
In Home Depot, they're small now, but they used to be these big wooden side caps. And I mean, my first one I built it, was so proud of it, painted it. I mean, so you got to wait till the paint dries and then go mount it. I lift the thing up, the whole thing just fell apart.
Oh, no.
And then I was like, it's like 9:30 at night. I'm just trying to put this thing up and get out. Like, I'm ready to, like, been working all day. Thing just completely just broke. I mean, like, I crumbled. Just had to scrap it and start over the next day.
You're like, there's got to be a different way.
Well,
Different life.
But you learn a lot in that. You learn a lot of that, right?
It's Newell Brands.
Newell
This is-
Brands, yep.
So,
So they own a bunch of different brands, right? So anything from
yes.
at the time, and they've sold some of the companies since I worked there, but we had brands that made saw blades and vice grips and different tools, to blinds and shades, to Sharpie markers, to Calphalon pots and pans, Graco car seats.
Yes.
So you
All
had
of
a
it.
you had
So
a little bit
Had
of all
a
that.
variety.
When I
Yes.
was talking to Jared about you, I was like, what on earth did he sell? Because I was looking up Newell Brands, and it was like on here, Graco car seats, Rubbermaid, and Sharpies,
Yep.
and Elmer's glue, and yanking candles. And I'm like, was he just like pushing all these products?
He had like one of those carts that you go around, a vendor cart, and it had everything. Like, no matter what drawer you pulled out, he'd have it.
So
He
what
said
was
he
your
sold whatever he could.
what was your specialty? What was your favorite thing, I guess, to sell at your
So
time
the
there?
tools were probably the most
Yeah,
fun,
I was
right? Because you got to
thinking.
demo them, and it felt to look better. Like, you're in Home Depot and you're selling tools. I
Manly.
mainly, I didn't get to pick. You don't get to. So they're all different companies, right? So you end up working for. So when you started, you were kind of repping all those companies within a retailer, and then as you kind of move up in your roles, you get kind of sucked up by the different companies. So then I went over to Rubbermaid for a while. And so then I was selling trash cans and totes and closet organization. Which isn't bad. I mean, it was a big brand,
Sure.
But it was trash cans.
Everybody
trash
needs
cans and
totes.
shit.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
John.
But
So-
everybody needs trash cans.
Everyone needs
Yeah,
trash
that's
cans.
true.
So,
They're
Yeah,
not going
right?
out of style anytime soon.
Then I've worked for the Blinds and Shades company, so did that for a while, and sold blinds and shades, and so a little bit of everything.
So
It's kind of a wild
how-
ride.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited to talk to you. I think your background is just fascinating. And I have to know how that led to jewelry. How did that
Yes,
lead to
that's
Pandora?
our big
Please,
question.
please
That is
tell
not
me.
your normal career progression.
No, when we
Um,
saw that you were VP of sales for Pandora.
Yes.
Well, that's what I like about my resume. Like, none of it makes sense.
No.
I love it.
Like,
No.
none of it makes sense.
She
It's
was
like-
so excited
So
when
you're
she
like, okay,
saw
so you're selling to Home Depot. You've got this career, and like a lot of people make full careers of just managing those big box retailers. I mean, there's a whole life there.
Yes.
And but I had a mentor that I'd worked for at No Rubbermaid, and he ended up going. He went to a couple different companies and landed at Pandora, right as Pandora was kind of coming, of age in the U.S. It's a Danish brand, and it took him about 2 years. And he'd be like, "Oh, you need to come work. You need to come work over here."
Oh, so it was you have to know
Yeah, it was
somebody to
someone
get
that
into
I knew.
Pandora.
And so for 2 years, he's nudging me, going, "Come on, Mike. This is a great opportunity, great company, great growth. Like, get out of that,
Drop the
plastic.
trash
And
can.
trust me, plastics business is not. It's not a fun business. There's no margin. As gas prices go up, you're taking price increases. As gas
Yeah.
prices go down, you're kind of getting beat up for your price again. Like, give us back what we gave you.
And it's trash cans.
And it's trash cans. It's low barrier to entry. The bigger the trash can, the better, because you need bigger machines. So that's harder for someone to kind of get in the business. But small plastics, you can get into that business real fast. And so a lot of people can get very aggressive. And so it's a very
Like a 50-foot product.
yeah. You need,
Oh my gosh.
it's like a 50-foot product. So jewelry was kind of a new opportunity, and Pandora was at the time a heavy franchisee model. Which was different than anything I'd ever done. It was true retail, so I mean,
Yes.
it was like true mall retail, and kind of living and dying by your KPIs and your metrics. And so after 2 years of just this conversation, I said, you know what, there was something new for me to learn with that company, and that's what I liked about
Well,
it. It was
for
nothing
sure.
about. Wasn't really, charm bracelets. I wasn't in college going, gosh, I hope one day I could just sell charm bracelets. But all of the learnings from, again, kind of moving from big box to true retail, moving from, just kind of business to business selling to direct to consumer and having that opportunity, managing franchisees, from a brand perspective, I was like, those are good learnings for me. And I said, I'm going to take it on for the learnings piece of it. And it was great. I was there for 6 years and loved it, and
wow.
managed all of the U.S. and Canada, and traveled like crazy.
Wow.
That's incredible.
We're vertically integrated out of Thailand. I think we have, 9,000 to 12,000 employees that all work for the company. And
Did you go to Thailand?
We did. We would make trips
Oh,
every year.
wow.
Every year we would take customers out there. That was kind of our customer trip. Just kind of show, because it's such a big deal. If you would think about it, you look at a little charm and you're like, oh, there must be this machine just stamping this out.
Stamping them.
Our charms actually were touched by about 32 people. So they're actually not just
I did
stamped
not
out.
know this.
You're
They're
selling me
they're
on
hand-
Pandora
yeah,
right
You
now.
are.
They're handcrafted. So,
Well, now I want
so when your customers see that this, starts from, what silver's poured into this mold, and then what it ends up where, someone's putting each one of those, whether it's a diamond or a CZ or whatever, and the hand, setting each one of those, you're like, wait a second, and this thing's $50? Well, yeah, because we're vertically integrated, so we own the whole operation, from bottom to top. And
That's
so,
really cool. I
So
had
it
no
really
idea.
kind of really surprise folks. Or like you'd see a glass charm and not realize, like, well, that's true Italian Murano glass that was kind of blown onto that charm. And you're like, huh. So you get an appreciation for it because you see so much of it, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
and you go into a store and there's just hundreds of options, and it's very SKU intensive, and you're like, oh, they just must be, there must be a
stamping it.
machine just
Well,
stamping this
right.
out,
Well,
and that's
I'm
not-
sure most people, just like you
Yeah.
said, well, why is this charm $50?
Yeah.
Well, when you tell the story,
Yep.
it makes more sense. Now,
Brings
how
it
When you
value.
sell it.
how was that for you working as VP of sales in, I would assume, and maybe I'm wrong to assume this, a more female-dominated industry? What was that like for you?
I mean, I'd say more female influenced.
Influenced.
But I think But to me, the product's a product. I mean, I guess if you kind of really boil it down, it's you're still trying to just understand your consumer. What they are really wanting and needing, bringing a product to market at the right price, at the right time, and so I think the math. I mean, to me, selling's always, whether it's been a trash can or jewelry or even homes at times, it's still technically a way.
Formula, language.
Yeah, there's a formula to that,
Yeah.
right? So to me, it was more taking. My opportunity was, one, to learn at Pandora, but also to bring what I knew of kind of bigger box retail in that environment, because at the time our franchisees were also getting much bigger, and they were starting to buy up other franchisees, and they were growing to where they were now almost these kind of bigger national accounts. And that's what we actually structured the company. So we structured it from just being like, everyone's out there selling to individual stores to, okay, these big buckets of customers, we're not going to treat them a little bit differently. We're going to treat them as a big customer, and we're going to be more, not just, there's no like perks on pricing, but more how we consult them. how we build their strategy, how we make sure we're keeping them in a better
Support.
spot. Right. Just like we would do as a vendor to a Home Depot, you're saying, look, I mean, it's not just about showing up and selling a widget. It's about managing lines of product and helping them kind of, sell at the best margin, sell at the best velocity, be competitive against other retailers. And so that was my opportunity. And so that's what I was brought over there to do. And what I was kind of excited to do is like, okay, they're looking for someone that has a little bit different experience, but you're right. It's one of those industries it's one of those industries where it's like everyone else has been there, 30, 35 years. They grew up in that. They're jewelers, and their dad, their family were jewelers. And,
Yes,
and you were kind of in that, well, how long have you been doing this? You're like, 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm the new
I
kid on
just
the
dropped the
block.
trash can.
Yeah, and they're like, well, what were you doing before? I was like, I was selling trash cans.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so it's kind of like, and you're here because, and so you'd have to, kind of have to work through all that.
Well,
But,
you've sold me on Pandora.
Yes, I had no idea.
I had no idea either. No. So I guess moving forward, how did that lead to home sales?
So
Yes.
What was the
kind of
connection?
similar but different in the opportunity. So had received a recruiter had reached out to me and said, hey, we've got this unique opportunity. It's in Texas, privately held company, employee owned. It's a home builder. And quite honestly, at the time, I was really just trying to figure out something that maybe could keep me in Texas a little bit more formally. I was traveling a ton. My daughter was getting of an age where I was missing out on things. I was
Okay.
like, and so I was kind of at that kind of weird life moment where I'm like, I don't know what that opportunity is going to be because there's not a lot of companies, like a Newell Rubbermaid that's in Texas, or even jewelry companies, right? So you can go to like a Kendra Scott for like jewelry, or you can go to like an Igloo. I mean, those were similar backgrounds, but I was like, oh, what could I do? And I'd received a phone call from a recruiter that was just like, they're looking for someone outside the industry, which piqued my interest. And
Yeah.
and they said, and this would be in Texas, and it'd probably be Houston or Dallas to start. And at the time, I was like, what sold me, I was like, well, why do they want someone outside the industry?
That was going to be my
Yeah.
question.
And
Yeah.
so I said, you know what? On that note, I'd like to know more and spend some time getting to know the management team. And it was a long process because, again, they don't bring in a lot of folks. One, most of the folks at Highland Homes have been there forever.
Yeah.
They have.
And they don't bring in a lot of new people. And so,
So yeah, I mean, disclose what you can, but
yeah.
every builder in Houston, I think we have a pretty good relationship with. All of their upper management is from the company.
Yeah.
It's from construction, it's from accounting, it's from land, it's from sales. Why did they want somebody from outside the industry?
So I think a lot of it was, again, the background I had was more on consumer brands and just kind of running branded products, right? And Highland is and continues to pursue just brand growth, right? We're a Dallas-based company, and we are
Yes.
known very well in Dallas.
Very well.
We're known here, but we're not known here, right? You still kind of go, I know that name, I've seen it, but do I really know it? And but that's also been just we're younger here, right? I mean,
Yes.
Houston's half the age of Dallas. And so there was just I think their angle was, hey, we could bring someone in, we could teach them the business side of this, because again, there's still so many similarities to the process of selling.
But we
a
can't
product.
teach what he's just done.
But he's
Yeah.
came from
At Pandora, at
managing
Rubbermaid.
brands,
Right.
marketing brands, helping brands be very competitive, against other brands on a day-to-day basis. Like, let's see if he could bring some different lenses to the game. And so that's what I hope I've done. That was the game plan.
I feel like Highland is just so, and this goes for the product, the people, the processes there. I feel like they're always so ahead. I love that thought. I think that was such a wonderful idea on Highland's part to bring somebody from the outside that wasn't from another home builder to carbon copy what another builder was doing. They brought somebody who had branding experience to help them with their brand in a completely different industry. I just feel like that's something maybe even overlooked in our industry sometimes, where we do kind of just move people up, especially in the new home side. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not
It's
saying
just the
don't get moved
norm.
up.
It's just the
Right.
norm.
Exactly. But I just think Highland is so innovative. And that's what makes them so unique. And the three of us obviously are huge fans of Highland. The people, the product, the customer service, everything about Highland. And I love that they did that with you.
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah, well, I hope so because we're.
I'm glad
here
you know.
are.
I'm glad they took a shot on me. I mean, it was a big deal for them to make that kind of a step, and so
I agree, but it's innovative. Like,
yeah.
I find that very innovative of them to have that like foresight that this is what we need, and we don't want it to be like everybody else in our industry. We want it to come from somebody very seasoned and someone well tenured in branding, and not from the industry because we want to be different. Because Highland to me is very different than all the other builders, so I love it. I think your background and just everything you've talked about is just fascinating.
I'm curious, being new in the industry, then, what was a big aha moment, or how competitive is this home building? Like what was a revelation in the first few months?
Well, it's very competitive, but I think it's a good competitive, right? So I think compared to maybe my last two companies, and I'll use those as examples. Like you're not. So let's say I was trying to sell a product on a shelf and gain certain self-placement within a big box retailer. If they pick my item, great. Or if they pick, if I'm selling 20 items and they pick 5 of them, did they pick the 5 that are really give me the best opportunity to shine on that shelf space? They may have different reasons why they picked my 5. And they may have been the 5 I'm like, I don't know if that's not my best. That wasn't my best work, right? I mean, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I'm getting 5 SKUs with you, but maybe we had some new innovations that they're like, yeah, we're just, we don't like the price point, or maybe there wasn't something they didn't like about it, and they didn't give that a shot on the shelf.
Right.
Pandora's kind of the same, right? You're this global company that is kind of, you're trying to, again, when you're that big of a company, there's still going to be some standardization across all the markets, right? And so am I as strong as I can be in Texas, being a Danish-based company, right? So there's times where you're like, I wish I had just a little bit more, a little bit more ammo, a little bit more
Level
something that I could kind of get support from the company or investment from the company to help me kind of be as strong as I possibly could be in specific markets. But that's what I think is beautiful about the home building business, and especially Highland Homes is we are, all the competition, you're all working on getting each other better, right? And we could pivot and make those adjustments, right? So it's not so static that it's like, nope, that's our widget and that's what we're going with, like, let it ride. Like, no, it's like, oh, the customers change. COVID happened and we need another study, or we need workout facilities in our houses, or we need to, change the tandem garage overnight to be now a finished space that makes sense. Well, you could pivot, and now you're sharpening your pencil, and your competition sharpening, and it's all in the spirit of a better consumer experience and a better consumer product. So the consumer wins, right? But you have that battle every single day happening, and you could be sharpening your pencils along the way, and it's better for the consumer. But again, so we could pivot a little bit more, I guess,
Well, and an advantage Highland has is it's Texas-based, right? As opposed to a national.
Correct.
Where adding that study might take a year in some of those situations.
Absolutely.
Where you guys can definitely pivot.
Yeah, it's like, what do we need right now? And look, with what the market's given us the last 3-4 years, you have to be able to kind of pivot along the way. Like it's 2024 will have something in there for sure.
Yes, right.
So you've been with Highland for 5 years, is that correct?
Going on 5, yep.
So over your 5-year tenure with Highland, what would you say makes Highland different from your competitors?
Again, I think our ability to pivot and change is kind of it's a badge we wear.
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's huge.
That's something we kind of pride ourselves on. I think just who the company is, Jean Ann, and her vision. She walks every prototype. She touches every single plan still, right?
Yeah.
And so they're in our architecture team, Gonzalo. There's times we've had. I think some of y'all have had chances to meet him, but we have the special sauce in the building that you're like, how do you duplicate that? Because at times, yes, it is a science, but it's very much an art, and it's really making sure that and so you have to have that visionary and that person that can kind of look at it that way. It's not about maximizing square footage or maximizing profit. And I think that's one big difference about Highland. It's about, is the product right for the customer? Are we giving them the very best product, built to the highest standards that lives very well for them? And even if that definition of how living changes, are we modifying and changing with the times and staying ahead of that? And that's more important than anything else. And I think that as a salesperson, you can't appreciate that more. Right? You're just like,
Absolutely.
thank you. It's like,
Yes.
thank you. because they're giving you new tools each and every time to just kind of keep going. Okay, like this is go make lemonade now. There you go. You know,
Right.
here's the answer. So
Yeah.
I was going to chime in with the sales counselors
yep.
because Highland, they may not be the most tenured, but when you walk into a Highland home, you feel the professionalism.
Yes.
You feel like they want you there.
Yes.
And that's not a feeling that a lot of model homes give off.
Yep.
It's just not. And then for Highland to empower most of their sales consultants with one-person communities, you know, various assistants, whatever the case may be, that's not the norm in Houston either.
No.
I don't know about Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, but to empower that salesperson says so much for the company that the sales counselor feels that, and I think they're willing to just make it work, whatever that is. If it's staying late, coming in early, making that extra phone call, whatever it is, and you see the difference when you walk into.
Well, we
Highland
say,
home.
I mean, we say they're the CEO of their neighborhoods, and that's not a term we take very lightly. And it's not. It sounds really awesome, like, oh, I'm CEO. Woohoo!
But
there's a lot of
challenges.
accountability. There's a
No,
lot of
yeah.
accountability that falls on those shoulders.
On a one-man office.
Yeah, on a one-man office. So with it comes great reward, but with it comes also great responsibility, right?
Sure.
But I think that you're right. So you have to have a special individual that can handle that, and I think that's something you kind of feel when you're interacting with our sales counselors, is they are able to handle that, and that's again that just they're different because of that.
There's millions of dollars worth of inventory.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
millions.
Can they handle it?
So you're over South Texas,
South
correct?
Texas. Yep.
So, from any of the markets, what is your favorite plan that Highland builds and why?
Good question, dude. If I was to buy a house right now, my house probably be the 274.
Oh, the 200 series is so
And
beautiful.
the 274, I mean, it has just massive kitchen, tons of storage. You got the whole wall of cabinets along the back, big open living, and then you've got your game room that's just kind of right off of the living. And it's
Right.
like a double game room. So you got your game room, media room back there. So you just have like just a great space. You throw in some sliders. Now you got some big outdoor living off both of those, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I would definitely, if I was building, I mean, the more sliders, the better.
Yes.
You know, we just built a new Huntington up in Dallas in the PGA neighborhood. It's called the Fields, and
Okay.
it's where the PGA corporate office is.
Wow.
Oh.
And it's a smaller footprint home. I think it's a 60-foot Huntington. So smaller lots. But this house, I think it had 7 sliders in it. And I was like,
Oh my
that's
On a six-
goodness.
like if you could ever build a house and just say, let's figure out how many sliders we could put into one house.
They did it.
They did it. The master bathroom had sliders.
Jeannie
To
Ann
where?
did
It was
it.
awesome. Just a nice outdoor living area. It was awesome though. I was like, so from this point on, since I've left there now, any house I kind of think of, I'm like, where else can I put a couple more
Yeah.
sliders on this house and
needs
just
a
really
wall?
open it
Just
up?
give me a
just give me
slider.
a slider. So 274. I do love the 216 as well though,
Yes.
which I mean, just tried and true.
So maybe I should know this, but where did the numbers come from in labeling the
there's
plans?
no math behind the
There's
numbers.
not?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
So that was
like-
definitely a part of my onboarding. I'm like, okay, explain these numbers to me. And
Yeah.
there's no science behind it. I was like, great. How am I going to learn all this?
Yeah.
Because I was like, because you're just like, what's the difference? The 2 doesn't mean anything. The 7 doesn't mean
It's
anything.
not like WD-40, the first
No.
39
No.
were failures, and then the 40th.
No,
No.
they just kind of become a series. And so, the 200s
Yeah, the
and
200
the 500s.
series, the 600.
Well, because everybody else is like, this is the Elm, and
Sure.
this is the
Or,
Mayberry,
it's
and
the
this is
2631 and it's
Yeah.
It's based on the square
2,631
footage.
square foot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Well,
and now we're actually changing that, and you'll notice we're going to more named plans. And you're even going to
Oh.
see
I like
that
that.
in the 200s. The 200s will eventually morph into a named plan.
Well, when
I
I,
like
was at
the
Highland,
names.
they had names.
Yeah.
branding.
What's that?
for branding.
Yeah, for branding. Because again, the number
Sure.
didn't. The
Are
number
they
had
going
no meaning to
to-
it. So
Pick names from the team or family,
no, I think it's been more.
streets, trees, birds,
No,
cities.
it's been,
Oh my
we've had
goodness.
everything from cars to artists to. It's been
Oh.
kind of an eclectic mix of names.
Oh,
yeah.
are you guys like taking a vote?
Like you might see the Matisse out there. It's
Oh.
The De Pasquale.
there's an Escalade, I think.
Is there really?
Really?
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye out for
Yeah.
all the renamed plans. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of them you'll.
Well, the artisans were always named, and then as we've been updating our classic portfolio, which we've installed an entire new branch of our kind of product development team. So we are rolling out product so fast right now. It's
New
absolutely
product.
great. New product, and it's on. So we brought in a true product manager. So you have your architectural team, but you have a true product manager that's really kind of looking at each series of plans, just like any manufacturing company would. You know, you'd have this individual that's looking at the competition. What's the consumer want? What's the consumer feedback?
Right.
Which tweaks do we make? And then relaunching an entire plan lineup. And in our past, it used to be, oh, that one's getting old. Let's put it on the docket, and then we'll get to that
Redline
6
it
months
or-
from now, and we may clean it up a little bit, cut out a couple plans. This is really just on a very formal calendar. Like, okay, come 15 months, there's going to be a rollout of a new lineup, and it's going to kind of have a fully refreshed look
To keep
it.
everything
Yeah.
fresh.
So we've got all new, what was the 200s, so all new 60 foot product coming out. It's going to have new elevations, all completely new layouts, and just kind of be updated. Now, some of them, might be kind of have similarities to some of the plans. Like some of the, like a 216 or 274 or 272. There's a tried and true kind of layout
Yes.
to that house.
You don't want to
Yeah.
discard
Yeah,
it
so
totally.
you make some upgrades to it, updates to it, but that's about it. But there's still kind of a baseline that kind of came from that very popular plan that stayed. We call them cousins. Like we call them our cousin plans.
Oh, I like
So
that.
there's still some.
They're the
there's
same
still- they're still-
bloodline.
They're still in the family.
They're in the
Still
family. They're
The
just not
Houston-
immediate.
Yeah.
Houston market better watch out.
Yeah.
Got new things on the horizon.
Yeah, all kinds of, and that's for the whole state. So it's coming across all the cities. So but no, I've got some great new modern farmhouse elevations
For the
coming out.
60s?
For the
Or-
60s. Yep, that'll be coming out.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
that's new news. It's coming.
Breaking
So
news.
it's gonna be good. You heard
And the
it here
80s
first.
have rolled out in Ellison,
Oh.
right?
Yep,
And
the 80s, but there's also gonna be some new 80s.
okay.
Yeah.
Any-
So the
Yeah.
model's a brand new plan that's going up in Ellison.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Because you
Is-
haven't had 80s in a while,
no.
right?
So updated that lineup as well. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Is
we're
there any
excited.
plans to bring Huntington into Houston again?
I think if there was a neighborhood where it made sense, I was talking about the smaller footprint Huntington product in Dallas. I mean, every developer that's seen it's like, we want to find a home for that.
Oh, of course.
It's amazing product, great entertaining product. It's just smaller footprint. It's just, so we're hoping that some of the new developments that are kind of on the horizon, late 24, 25, start building
Yeah.
in some sections that kind of have that opportunity to have kind of that higher end product.
To
Yeah.
add 9 sliders.
9 sliders, yeah.
Well,
Just call it the slider
The
series.
slider series, yeah.
if anybody can meet a home building goal, it's going to be Jeannie. And I'm sure she was
absolutely.
like, how many sliders can I put in here? I'm going to do
Oh, that's
it.
awesome.
That would be
Challenge
Jeannie Ann.
accepted.
No,
Yeah.
challenge accepted with Jeannie Ann.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, she's wonderful. So how did you meet Jared?
I was thinking about this question.
Did we meet?
I think it was Wood Forest grand
Yes,
opening.
it was right before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Because I had
Oh.
just joined the team, and it was before everything shut down. It was in Hunter's Model,
Yep.
It was a big
Hunter
turnout.
and
It
Linda.
was a great
It
time. I think we had
great
100 people
turnout.
out there.
Oh,
Great
Highland
I
turnout.
think
has-
you were there with somebody else, but
But
We do not
oh,
speak.
No, we do not talk about
We do not
that.
speak of
just
this.
saying.
But you
The
had
old
just
216.
moved here, right?
Yeah, just
you
because I
weren't-
lived in Dallas. So to start, I didn't get to come straight to Houston. So
Right.
I lived in Dallas for, I think, 6-7 months, and just learned a lot about the business, the company. My first 2 months with Highland, I just sat in a model. Like, literally didn't do anything.
Did you really?
That's it.
That's
like that
phenomenal.
Every day.
Yeah,
Just
that's
sat in a model.
Same model or
Different
Switched it
model.
up?
I had a couple different neighborhoods. I could switch it up, but literally they're like, just sit. And I'm like, okay, but you've brought me in. I'm VP of sales. I should do something. They're like, no. Just sit.
Oh,
Just
I
observe.
like
Just
I love that.
Watch the sales go.
So I
Yes.
did that,
Yeah.
and then I spent a couple months actually managing a small team. So they're like, okay, now we're going to give you a little taste of what a sales manager feels like. And like, here's a couple neighborhoods, and report the sales, and
Here's
kind
the
of
calls.
Here's the calls, right? And so that was kind of my, so I was in Dallas. They kind of held me up there, and then I'd kind of get to do certain events in Houston, which probably like just threw everyone for a loop when I would show up, and they're like, who's, they're not understanding like why this guy from Pandora is now here, and he shows up every once in a while, and then I got to move down here. And I think that was one of my first grand openings. And then just Jared being the inquisitive, extroverted individual, he kind of cornered me and was like, all right, who are you?
Oh, I can see that.
This
That was
happened in the model.
Yep.
I remember seeing y'all over at one of the little bar tops.
And
Well,
I was new, so I was just happy to talk to somebody because
Yes.
like no one like knows who I am. So I'm like, oh, at least someone will talk to me.
Yeah,
and
we
enjoy
I just went up
talking.
and said,
So
"Where
then-
did you come from?"
Yes, who are you? Why are you here,
Why
sir?
are
And then let's go to lunch.
Yeah,
And that's
and then that started, and we've been pretty consistent with the lunches. I'm pretty proud.
we try.
Of.
Oh, so well then the $1 million question.
Oh, yes.
Was
Has-
y'all's first lunch at Saltgrass?
That one I couldn't remember.
Have y'all been to Saltgrass?
I don't think so.
What?
What?
Better than that. We've kind of.
Oh, don't speak about Saltgrass.
Look at him.
like
He's
that.
shaking his head. He loves Saltgrass.
There's nothing wrong with saltgrass. I just think
Y'all,
usually
y'all
do
just
Mexican.
done
We usually
yeah,
go
we
different.
to-
usually stay
Okay.
Mexican.
I think the
We've done
first
some
one was,
barbecue. We've done Mexican, a lot of Mexican.
I think the first one was 1960.
Lupe.
Lupe.
Lupe tortilla. That's right.
Throws me
So
for
that
a loop
was the
every time
first one.
somebody's like 1960. I'm like, how long
Yeah.
have y'all been lunching? Okay, yes, going.
When I also
FM,
lived
no,
on,
no,
I used to live on
FM.
that side of town too. So that was a common. So when I met Jared, you know, I kind of at least knew he was on. I was living in Eagle Springs at the time. So it was kinda, so I was on that side of
okay.
town. So yeah, so 1960. Lupe
You were
tortilla
very
was-
familiar with Eagle Springs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very familiar.
Very
yes.
familiar with Eagle Springs.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and I had family on the other side of the lake, so I know the Huffman Crosby side.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
well,
look at
yeah,
that.
so,
Who
yeah.
knew all
Well-
this about y'all?
Now you just need to go to Jared's house and play basketball with him.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
well,
it.
so that is another question.
Yes.
Your daughter, you said, is an athlete.
Yes.
Now, does she get this inherent from you, or you're tall,
Yes,
6'5"?
yes.
Did you
I
play
hope she
any
gets the
sports?
athletic side. I did. So I played football at Texas Tech. So I was
Wow.
an offensive lineman there.
Okay.
It gets
so
cold
we
up
can.
there, doesn't it?
It gets cold. It's windy.
For the linemen.
There's dust storms. It's pretty wild, but yeah, it's cold
Did
and it's
you-
real hot. You know, it's either real hot or real
One or
cold.
the other.
Like
Yeah, it's
dry
one or the
hot,
other. Dry
too.
hot, though,
yeah.
Did you
Right.
make it into the newspaper like Jared did?
For what reason?
Well,
Oh, well, did you make it into the newspaper?
I've been in
reason.
newspapers, but I feel like for good reasons. But I feel like
Okay.
Jared's
Oh,
got
okay,
a better
well, wait,
story.
well,
I feel
well,
like he's
his
got a better.
basketball photo
Okay.
was in the Crosby.
This might be the last podcast I attend. Just FYI. So
Yeah, let's know more about you.
you can watch the last one.
Yes.
Okay, so you were an athlete.
Yep.
And then that career ended after college, though.
It ended after college.
more.
I was not good enough to go pro, and I was more than honest with myself on that one.
No big injuries.
Some people,
We can still walk upright.
yeah, I mean, arthritis is bad, but like I never blew out knees. Ankles got kind of beat up, but knees, shoulders, all good. So no,
Good.
I stayed mainly healthy. But
Do you remember your jersey number?
I do absolutely
What
because
is
it's my
it?
daughter's number now.
Is it
Oh,
really?
Oh yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Oh, I love
absolutely. It's the
that.
most awkward
Which-
volleyball number you've ever seen.
What is it?
73.
Oh.
Did she get to pick it?
So far it'll eventually
sounds
get
like
to where
no.
she does it. No, she does.
She does right
She-
now?
No,
Well,
she picked.
she
That's her
picked
pick.
it.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
her pick.
But
That's
after
her-
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah.
picked it after.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
picked it after her daddy.
Okay.
I
I
love
mean,
Yeah,
and
Jared-
in like the first jersey, there might have been like a little bit of influence, like, hey, solid number.
You know what Dad was, right?
Yeah.
You know, but now I tell her, look, there's a lot of responsibility to wear that number. Like, I mean, like you got to post up. Like,
Well,
you gotta,
So do you want to know
your
Jared's
height.
basketball number
I do.
that he picked?
Wait, just take a guess.
00.
Wait, is that a bad number?
No, it's a
For
good number.
basketball?
It's
That's a good
It-
number?
That's not a bad number.
It just means
Okay.
don't let the number take away from the
Okay,
the
It means,
show.
that,
Skills.
it means that came from nothing.
Yeah.
Right? The double
yeah,
zero.
Yeah. Just, so what was your number?
It's 23.
Okay, just you and Jordan.
Yes.
Fine.
J&J.
The
Just you and
MJ of basketball in Crosby.
He was assigned that number because of his good
I thought
court
this was about
skills.
John.
Well, we're just talking.
But he was
about
an
So
it.
athlete.
you
You
were assigned the number. You didn't ask.
I
for
was
the
assigned-
number.
I
the
thought
number.
for
That's a
sure
big
he
deal. That's a
asked
big
for the
deal. No,
number,
that's a
but
big
no,
deal.
he
So-
I don't
given
believe he
that
was
number.
assigned the number.
In high school, we didn't get to choose. They had like 10 medium jerseys, 10 larges, and 10 extra larges. That's how it
Well, then you
happened.
did. I
And
mean,
you
it
just
could have been a lot
chose.
worse. Like, I mean, that's solid.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it could have been. I could have had
that's good.
73 or something.
Yeah,
That'd be an
So-
awkward basketball
It,
number.
it would
Actually.
be. It's an awkward volleyball number, but we're good with it for
But
now.
she wears it well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you and Jared have had many lunches together. You've spent time with Jared.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe him?
I would say one. I mean, he's a very smart individual. Like he understands this business inside and out. He's inquisitive, so always has good questions.
He has a lot
So
of questions.
He has a lot of questions, which I appreciate. Questions lead to good
like
dialogue.
questions.
Yeah.
I love questions.
I like questions. I like because then I'm thinking, well, where's that question coming from?
Yes.
Right?
Why are you
Yeah, why are you
asking
asking that?
Yeah.
You know,
What does it
isn't
lead to?
Well, yeah. So I do like the question. So no, but I just really knows the business. Also gotten kind of know him personally a little bit, and just get on some learned about his property out in West Texas. So we both like West Texas. I've got a property not far from his, and so
Oh,
Have y'all met up?
Property
Not
Brothers.
Yet, not yet.
Maybe
He
next
did-
week.
he
We
did.
talked about it.
He did say if I broke down, he'd come help me out. Like he'd come, tone
Friendly
me out
neighbor. I
Since-
love
since
that.
his truck's
Are you-
nicer than.
He's gonna totally be out of town next week.
That's you're going out of town again.
Caught that? John invited me.
He never tells me when he's going. Oh, well, that's okay
When the
then. If
7-3
you
last
invite him
time.
to go out of town, it's okay.
Yeah, I invited him.
Yeah.
So I'll take the blame.
Jared just goes out of town and doesn't speak of it.
I mean, you got to kind of
But I still
assume next
answer.
week's kind
He
of a
does
good
still
outcome.
answer,
He
so we
does.
can't give him too
Next week
much
is
of a hard
Thanksgiving.
time.
I'm like, what are you doing, Jared? He's like, I'm dragging like corn feed out to put in my feeder.
But I answered, didn't I?
He did answer.
You did answer, yes. Yes.
You didn't answer me though. You texted and said, "I can't answer because I'm filling the feeder." I'm like, okay, I understand.
still responded.
At least you
You did
responded.
Still
respond.
responded.
You did respond.
responded.
Yes. So. Well, that's cool. Y'all are like neighbors.
The
just
property
way out
brothers.
there.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The property brothers.
I told him if his Ford breaks down, the
Yeah.
Chevy will come pick him
Rescue him.
Ooh, that's a rivalry right
Yeah,
there.
it was a little bit. It was a little
up. No, John's got a
bit. We
nice
all
truck.
know he's joking in that. I'll tell him
He's
anytime.
joking.
All jokes come from somewhere. No.
That's right.
Well, so there's been a lot of changes at Highland recently
Yep.
as far as management and leadership and good changes,
Yep.
by the way. These are all
Yes.
wonderful
We're growing.
changes. Yes.
Yeah.
So can you speak a little bit to that and maybe where the direction of the company is going as we head into 2024?
Absolutely. So the first big shift is we've kind of separated the state into two. So you've got Dallas and then you've got South Texas. And so that's kind of call it two bigger divisions of Highland Homes.
Dallas is just its own.
Dallas is its own, but, between the whole DFW Metroplex, I mean, that is a business by itself.
A region in itself.
Wow.
It's really a region by itself. So we've kind of pulled those cities together, and that's given me my new opportunity to gain some responsibility over the three cities and kind of look at it as a kind of a bigger number, bigger roll up. And then with that, Zane was promoted. So now she's
That's so
gonna be-
wonderful.
Yeah, so she's the vice president of sales over Houston. Very well deserved, and couldn't be more excited for her and her.
Congratulations.
Jinx.
Always at each other's head. Okay.
You owe me a Coke.
Yes.
And then with that, we've had to kind of grow out our management team under Zane. And so, we had added Matt Bolin, I guess about a year ago. So now he's now officially our most tenured sales manager.
Wow.
Danny Day recently
D-Day.
promoted. And then Mac Wolf
Yes.
was just promoted. So Mac was going to go to a leadership training we had kind of set up for him for a year. And we decided we needed him now. So
Oh.
he's doing on the job.
Boots on the
job,
ground.
Just
Just
throw
throw
him
him to
in.
the fire.
Matt got
Best way to
fast-tracked.
learn. Yes, he got
Fast track
fast-tracked.
Mac.
Yep.
That's so
Couldn't be
exciting.
more excited for all three of them and for Zane. So it's gonna be exciting. So, but Houston is having a phenomenal year. The business is in a great spot. I think we're about to break 1,000 units in net sales, which is
Oh, wow.
which is a milestone number for us.
It's a huge number.
And so we're really close to that number right now. Teams pushing hard for the end of the year to kind of achieve that.
Oh,
So
we're rooting
excited.
for
Yes.
you guys.
Please.
I've got one going under contract with y'all.
Thank you.
Yes,
We're
this
gonna
week.
help. There
It'll be
you
this
go.
week.
Good.
Big push.
No, we appreciate it, and we appreciate y'all's support. Y'all help us do that. So no, we're excited. So a lot of growth, and just again, trying to just work on this whole market, just to kind of grow our brand presence, and what we mean to the consumers across Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. And we're excited. A lot of great opportunities in front of us.
You keep saying that, but for me, maybe it's because I worked for Highland too,
Yeah.
or just because we're such big fans of Highland. But I just feel like everybody knows who Highland is here. Is
Yeah,
that just
that's
me?
odd to hear. No, I live in a Highland. I love it. So I've known y'all for quite
I think-
some
I think
time.
you're comparing it to Dallas. Is the
Yeah,
Well,
I
maybe
think
that's
that's.
what
I
it
mean,
is.
you know about us,
The
and yes,
mothership,
people
right?
know about the brand. If you said, hey, do you know about Highland? Like, if they don't own Highland, the name somewhat resonates. But I think, do we always get credit for everything we do? I mean, does that brand really kind of carry that full
The same
weight? And I think
weight.
there's that opportunity just to do a better job telling our story, right? Because a lot of things we do, and we just kind of do it because it's right to do. And we believe in that, and that coming from the
Yes,
company.
sure.
Yes.
We kind of pride ourselves in like what is the right thing to do, and but as a brand, you want that to have that kind of that known kind of factor
The
about
same
it.
story.
That story, right?
yeah.
And they're like, wait, I know.
Because I've seen Highland do warranty work, repair work that should be done.
No.
But
Oh
it,
yeah.
No, and
But
we
it
can't put all
happens.
that in writing, but it's
No.
who we are. It's like, hey, if that's right to do, and even if it's not something we did incorrectly or one of our trades did incorrectly, if it's the right thing to do, okay, we're gonna help take care of you
Yes.
there.
Yes, I can
I've
attest
seen
to
it time
that.
and time again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we're excited about just kind of that next step, and we were really down a strong path of, bringing in some of the brand agencies and really working on the brand. Then COVID hit, and then that just threw that whole playbook out the door for a while, right? I mean, you had to kind of so now that things are kind of back to a little bit more of a normalcy, as much as that can be defined right now, we're kind of re-engaging that and kind of getting back on that push.
So 1,000 sales this year. What is 2024?
We
Do
can't
know
go
what
backwards,
those
right?
numbers look like?
You can never go
You can
backwards.
never go backwards.
Just asking.
You can never go backwards. So that number is
It's a
still
4-digit
being
number.
It's still being defined and refined, but no, you can't go backwards. So it's a big milestone.
Good answer.
Now you got to keep it there.
Good answer.
So with your new promotion, I guess traveling now is back in your future.
Back in my future.
Okay.
But it's nothing like what I used to do. So I could handle San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah,
This is
it's only a
driving,
couple of
right?
hours. I mean,
Yeah.
Dallas is
My
4
previous
hours,
life,
but
it might have
yeah.
been 230, 240 days.
Yeah.
Just gone. Like just living in a
Oh,
hotel.
it's not Thailand.
No, not Thailand. So
I wouldn't be
well,
opposed
it wasn't
to
always
that.
Thailand. The main office was in Baltimore, so it was a lot of Baltimore time with Pandora. So it was,
I've never wanted to go to Baltimore. I don't think.
It's not on my list
It's not,
of
right?
places.
Baltimore?
When I-
you're at least a train ride from New York
Aren't they
City.
known
It's
for,
at
like,
least kinda nice
crab?
of it. Yeah, oh yeah.
Crab.
for
and-
crab
I
in
don't know.
Baltimore.
I would just probably work
Lots of
if I was there.
crabs.
Yeah.
It's just
But they
big.
buy a lot of their big crabs from Texas and Louisiana, which is kind
Oh
of funny.
well, of course they do.
You know, of course.
Of course they
Everything's
do.
bigger in Texas.
Yes.
I like it.
So
Well, speaking of bigger,
Yep.
we can't not talk about Jean Ann a little bit because she is the face of the company. She's absolutely phenomenal. Everybody knows Jean Ann. What was your first meeting with her?
Yes.
Oh,
Coming
yeah.
from somebody who doesn't know the industry, didn't know
Oh,
Jean Ann.
especially
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, you're jaded by
Yeah.
no. Well, the first meeting was an interview. So
I love
So
it.
I got to interview with her, in person, and you could tell very quickly who she is and who she is personality wise very quickly, right? I mean,
Yes.
like she doesn't.
She cannot hide it.
she
It's not
does
an act.
No, it's
No,
not. It's not.
no.
So very quickly, I could kind of understand, and I appreciated it. I think I've had the opportunity, even with Pandora, getting to work with founders of businesses that have been uber, successful.
Yeah.
There is something really special about each one of those individuals, right? And I mean, it is the work ethic. It is just who they are personality wise. Like, I mean, they have to have, no matter, they're going to be a big personality. They have to
Yeah.
be.
Right.
Because they have weathered storms. They have made it through. We've Jean Ann would say, we've never had a losing year, no matter if what recession was thrown at us.
Yeah.
And that's that takes a very special person. And so I've had the opportunity to kind of know individuals like that, and was really excited about the opportunity to have an opportunity to get to know her and add one more to my list. Because I think, again, what you could pick up off individuals like that, you can't learn in a textbook.
You can't, and you can't teach it either. I mean, you can never teach somebody how to be like Jean Ann.
No.
I love the story of Highland as well. It's a little reminiscent of Turtle Mangum, where Jean Ann started in the model home. So Jean Ann was in sales, and that's kind of our premise for Turtle Mangum.
Right.
Jared started in the model home and has built something out of it to where she gets it,
Yep.
and Jared gets it. Not comparing you to Jean Ann because she is way
She's the senior VP.
she she calls
Trainee.
herself the CFO, the
Chief Fun
the
Officer.
chief
Okay.
fun
I
officer.
Can't go backwards now.
You're not really the fun officer.
Well, I can't be.
Oh
with-
gosh! Don't tell him he's not fun
We'll talk about that later.
when he's out of town.
I just feel like
The
she's
beatings will continue till morale
I gotta
improves.
head west. I gotta head west.
she's she's such a huge part of the branding. So I
Yeah.
had to ask you, just coming from
Sure.
product branding, going to new home sales, it's like, oh, okay, it's another product, but then you meet Jane Ann, who is such a big brand to Highland in itself. I just didn't know if that threw you off.
No, not at all. I mean, again, I think aside from like maybe some of the consumer product companies, but again, when you do meet a true founder of a business, and even in the jewelry industry, you can kind of, you've got like a Kendra Scott type individual. I mean, there's a vision. There's an art to what they brought to the market, and you have to just kind of really appreciate it and just kind of go, wow, that's pretty special. And then to get that opportunity to kind of further experience it, watch it in the roles that I'm in now. I mean, that's some of my biggest learnings. I mean, as I was kind of as I've been with the company, I mean, any meetings I can kind of slip into where I could just be a fly on the wall in Jean Ann's meeting, like that has helped me so much, because I could pick up so much and read so much into what's going on and why we're doing what we're doing, or why she's thinking the way she's thinking, and then I could help go, okay, how can I help translate that,
to
down,
your team.
and down to my team. And so, I just beg for opportunities just to be fly on the wall in a lot of those meetings and just absorb, okay, how is she digesting what's happening in the marketplace? What's kind of giving her concern, or, what is she in, and then translating that down.
Yeah.
How often do you converse with Jean Ann? Is it a weekly?
No, it's a couple times a month. I'd say probably 3 times a month. There's certain touch points, and so, and again, like the meeting I was kind of late coming in. My last meeting was just one where I truly am just it's a marketing meeting, and I really don't have a lot of value to bring to that meeting, but I want to digest, kind of, again, like, what's kind of the vibe in the room, and what is she focused on, and how is she looking at things, and trying my best to, because that's all of our goals within the company, right? I mean, her and her brother built this phenomenal company. It is on us to help carry that vision through, right? And so that's how I try to task myself with that, is just try to pick up as much as possible and do my best to say, well, Jean Ann can't be in every room and every meeting.
Yeah.
How can I help translate that down to every employee?
It's a great way to be a leader.
Yeah, I love that, John. And I mean, there's no other builder can replicate what Jean Ann and you guys have done. I mean, for me, that's why I just think it's so interesting. You keep saying that Houston doesn't know the Highland brand. I mean, we know the Highland brand. It's very, very recognizable, to me at least, and I know to Jared and to Christy. But it would be extremely difficult to copy the Highland brand. It's so well known. It's so reputable. You guys are just absolutely incredible, all of you.
Well, and that's why y'all and our entire realtor network is so important to us, because y'all help tell that story.
Aww.
Right? So like but that's why we want to always continue to be such big partners with y'all and our entire realtor network. Is just, we need that help telling that story, right?
Sure.
And again, you can put it in print or you can put it in social media. Okay, I mean, but coming from y'all,
it's got to have a voice.
100x. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
It needs a voice.
Yes.
So.
And so that's you guys play a massive role in our success, and we appreciate that. So.
Well, thanks. Likewise.
No, well, any other questions for John? Well, I know you probably have 1,500.
Lunch. Yes, they just want to know when they're getting their
grab
lunch
lunch.
date together.
You're going to go to Saltgrass?
No.
You're going to take
I'll
him to
text you
Saltgrass?
later. No.
They'll probably
You're not
be
invited.
cutting a turkey
That's
together
fine.
next week
I'm
in West
good.
Texas. Price will bring her gift card to Saltgrass.
The gift card that Jared gave me to Saltgrass.
That you still have?
She still has
Do we
it.
need
Yes,
to
she
go?
needs
I
to
feel
use
bad
it.
we haven't done Saltgrass.
I
I feel
cannot
like we need to do
believe-
that now. Like, I
I
mean,
feel like
If you go take
We
a
might have
picture.
to
I
now,
don't-
but
I don't know that they have filet fajitas, but
He
Filet
eats
fajita?
chicken.
no, they don't. Yeah, we'll keep going there.
Yeah.
To that place.
Oh my word.
Undisclosed.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
can you tell us where y'all go?
No,
Or
they
is-
won't
No,
ever tell us
No.
probably.
Is this like the underground,
It's
They don't want us
Meetings,
showing
the
up.
speakeasy lunch. Yes.
the TM Speakeasy,
Uh-huh.
TM Travels?
Yep. Price is not invited.
This fine. This is
So-
fine. No, well, John, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining
thank
us
you. This was
today. We learned so much about you, and I know that we were just itching to talk to you and learn all the fabulous things that you have done and all the great things that Highland is doing. And just thank you for letting
absolutely.
us
Thank y'all.
learn from you and being a friend to us in the industry.
and
Absolutely.
as well, same.
We appreciate the
Appreciate
time.
the partnership.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.